Awesome day to be a Duck, man. Just a lot of fun to experience the atmosphere that this place creates. Big win by softball earlier today. About to have an awesome baseball game here in a second. And our crowd was absolutely unbelievable, right? They always show up and show out. Really proud of that. A lot to clean up, right? Film wise, right? I know you guys will over critique it, right? You won't critique it harder than us. That's okay, right? A lot of positives, but certainly some stuff for us to improve. And that's why they call it a spring game. So can open it up from there.
Just your assessment of the quarterbacks with an audience behind him, and then also some high leverage situations. Like, how do they handle it?
Yeah, some good, some bad. It's kind of the same answer you'll get from me a lot. There was some really positive plays. Thought we got in a funk it a little bit in the middle. Started off a little bit hot. Operated well in some situations, and then some. We could have certainly been better.
Dan, has the defense been this dominant and the offensive line this porous throughout the spring, or was this just a showcase today?
I wouldn't say that. No, there's been some really good back and forth throughout the spring. Nice shot though.
A big game for Dylan Gresham today. How does he factor into the wide receiver rotation?
Yeah, I would say that Dylan's probably one of our most improved players from this past season to what he's done now. He's continued to make big plays on the field, and done a really good job for us. He showed up today. I think we all saw what he's capable of today.
There's so much hype around Kenyon coming into this year. Just what was it like for you to see him live up to that hype today?
Well, I've seen it every day that he's been here, right? This is a guy that's constantly improved, that's worked really, really hard, embraced whatever role he's wearing for the team, and been able to help us since the day he got here. So, I think you saw some of Kenyon, what we get to see every single day in practice.
Back left.
Going back to Dylan for a second, just where has he improved from your comments of taking big steps, and how was reflective of today's performance across all of spring ball?
Yeah, probably biggest piece knowing his job, and then being able to count on him when the ball's coming his direction to come down with it. I thought he made some contested catches today, made some great plays on the ball. He's become much better as a returner, and that's just with reps and consistency. But I think he would be the first one to tell you, hey, I got even more room to grow. I got more to even improve.
You said at the start, really successful day for the program, both the NFL draft and here. How do you kind of use this?
Yeah, what are we sitting at now? How many have we had? 10?
And,
Pretty awesome, right?
when you have so many high-profile recruits on campus, how do you kind of use the momentum from this and build on it?
Yeah, proof's in the pudding, right? I mean, you just look at it. You're setting a program record for guys being able to draft it, to get drafted in the NFL this year. Every year our draft picks have gone up since we've been here, and that's really credit to those players that have worked extremely hard, get an opportunity to live out their dream. Really excited for them, and really grateful for everything they did for Oregon.
I was going to ask about Luke, who maybe gets overlooked sometime in the competition, but he looked like he really belonged out there. Kind of the progress he's made and what stood out with him this spring.
Yeah, and I think every quarterback has a different skill set. And Luke's always been really an athletic player, but I think where he's really come on this year is throwing on time, taking what's there, becoming a complete quarterback from that standpoint. But he had some really good moments this spring, and certainly some good moments today.
Dan, we saw Blake Purchase kind of playing out in coverage against tight ends as an edge pass rusher and playing some off-ball stuff. What about his skill set makes him so dynamic to do that, and what do you kind of see for him in 2025?
Yeah, Blake's another one that I would say, great improvements this offseason. He's worked really hard. He's changed his body. He's become really comfortable in the system as far as what his job is and his responsibilities. He's a complete outside linebacker right now for us, and if he continues to take that same growth this summer, he's going to be a big impact player for us.
You guys have a lot of youth in the secondary. What were you excited from those guys in terms of just being able to get to see them in Autzen Stadium in a game experience like this?
Yeah, I think it's a great environment for them, right? Like I said, not everybody in the nation gets to play in an environment like that for a spring game. So for them to get some opportunities, there's going to be some stuff that we can learn from. To go against, some really good wideouts each day. We talk about iron sharpens iron. I think we got to see some of that.
Hey Dan, what were the biggest priorities for you with the defense coming off the season and throughout the spring? Like, what were the areas you most wanted to address, and just collectively with that group, how would you characterize the growth?
Yeah, I mean, one, it's a completely different group, right? So I think there's a lot of new experience that's there. So I think you got to start with saying, okay, what can we operate and what can we execute? It's not going to be the same as last season, and even the season before that, our number one call on defense was different than it was this past year. So we'll adapt that to fit our personnel. Biggest thing I want to see is guys out there communicating. I think we could have tackled much better than we did today, but when you don't go live tackling every day in spring, you're going to see some of that as we get closer to fall camp. I think you'll see that improve, and they're going to get some really good playmakers on the other side of the ball. But ultimately, we have to be a team that can stop the run, and take the ball away. You saw a takeaway today, show up and make a big play. Actually a couple takeaways, in today's game. But ultimately, assessing this group as an individual group has nothing really to do with last season, right? And there's areas of growth, and there's a lot of stuff that we put in and done differently that we didn't show you today, right? We're not trying to win the scrimmage, right? We're out there trying to see our guys play football.
We got to see Jerry Mixon today with extended run next to Bryce. Just how much of what you've seen from him throughout the spring, Dan, gives you confidence that he can be in that role for probably the most snaps that we've seen in him from defense.
Most what?
Most snaps we've seen from him on defense, possibly in the fall, that he could be in position for that for you guys, and whether you do or don't end up pursuing somebody in the portal at linebacker here.
We won't pursue anybody in the portal at linebacker. I feel really good about our linebacker group. I like the guys we have. Jerry's a guy that's worked extremely hard, done an unbelievable job, and continues to improve. And when he keeps that as focus, he's really going to be a guy that can help us. But there's a lot of guys in that room that I think can play winning football, and it comes with experience.
In the back of the middle.
Jerry as well as Dylan Williams were all over the field today. I was going to ask about Jerry, but how do you see them fitting into the linebacker mix once fall comes?
Yeah, when you talk about really our pillars on defense, we start with relentless effort. So you got to have guys that are running sideline to sideline. Linebacker's important job is getting everybody else lined up, and that's a really big piece of it. You saw Jeff go to the Chiefs today. That's a big piece of that. He was a great communicator, right? So these guys can grow from a communication standpoint, but when they have relentless effort, when they attack the ball, when they play for the guy next to them, those are going to be separating factors.
You've been asked about a couple of guys specifically already, but a few guys today that redshirted last year potentially have the opportunity for bigger roles this year and jumped out today. Just what's your sense for this whole month, the development of guys who were here last year and have had opportunities, and how you feel those guys are progressing?
Yeah, excited about the entire group. I mean, this program is about growth, right? And you never know exactly what your opportunity will look like and when that'll necessarily come, but you want to be ready for that opportunity. And I think we've seen a lot of guys take big steps, this offseason. But I'm watching the same thing you guys watch. There's a lot of room for improvement on both sides of the ball. So you see a big play, you get really excited about the offense, but then you worry about the defense, right? You see a sack, you get really excited about the defense, and then worried about the offense. That's the way these things are supposed to go, right? But ultimately, overall, I feel like we have a group that attacked every day, really strove to improve. What can't happen now is us stop and wait till fall camp to keep improving.
Front right.
Is there any reasoning behind the red jersey for Jalil Florence? And curious if you have any updates on Devin Jackson, Aiden Breeden, or
yeah, there's some guys that we held out really more out of caution than necessary. Jalil's been a guy that's been able to practice, but he did have a banged up hand that we wanted to protect, so didn't want to make him full contact.
Back left.
What's just the order of business for you guys the next couple weeks into the next couple months now of looking over this film and getting ready for fall camp?
Yeah, a lot of pieces, right? Our coaches will be going on the road in May for recruiting. We'll do some exit meetings with our players so we can identify new growth areas for us post spring. What are the things that we need to attack to improve on? Continue to develop and get those guys strong in the weight room and take advantage of that and really attack the classroom as well. So a lot of things going on. We're coming into the summer window where we'll have camps where we can go evaluate guys as well. But a lot of things.
Fourth row on the right.
One of the players that stood out to me today was Gage. Has he been hitting field goals like that?
Yeah, it was pretty
Spring?
awesome to see, right? Gage hit some big kicks. Overall, special teams, there were some positives. There were some real negatives there, too. So, you asked me about linebacker, maybe punter, if there's a punter out there available, right? We've been more consistent. They didn't show up today. That was some of the poor kicks that I've seen here. On the same note, seeing us hit some big field goals like that, I don't know what the distances were exactly. It was like 47, 52, 54. Okay. So big kicks, from those guys, and that was great to see.
I was going to actually ask you about Gage. I'm curious if you've seen that consistency from that distance, and kind of obviously Atticus is kind of the standard here, but is there that competition kind of ongoing?
There's a competition at every position, right? And Atticus has been really good for us and done a good job. But Gage is a guy that we are really excited for in the future. He's done a really good job. We've always felt like he was going to be a really good player, and certainly, stepping up in those moments today were big pieces of that.
Hey Dan, maybe it's obvious internally, but I'm just curious. It's the first time that haven't had an incumbent quarterback that you've tried to you're going to address it internally. Why not dip into the portal and pursue a quarterback?
Because I like who we have on our roster. Yeah, I like the guys that we got, right? And that's always been something. You want to create competition in every position. We've utilized the portal at times when we felt like that helped us and enhanced us, had an opportunity to go have success. There's also sometimes the portal, it's not all under your control. If you're lower in a certain roster spot, you need to be able to add guys to make sure that you can go out there and practice. Roster limits have changed some of those things. There's been some other adjustments, and we'll see how those rules continue to change and shape. But ultimately, I feel good about the guys we have at that position.
With the change of position coach at receiver and losing some top guys, obviously at the NFL, how do you feel about the room as a whole, Dan, at this point in the spring, and to Evan specifically, where he was able to make progress when he's been on the shelf for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think every one of those guys is growing, and really excited about what June had done here in the past, and really excited about what Ross has added to that. We have a talented group. There's a lot of opportunity sitting there for guys to go out and make plays, and I think I saw some of those guys making plays that haven't necessarily had those opportunities yet today. Dylan was one that you guys mentioned earlier. Saw some big catches from Kyler, some catches from J-Mac. So there's a lot of guys that were out there, making an impact. And we have young guys and more veteran guys really across the board. But I feel really good about that room.